Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We're so grateful that you're here. Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Bro Show. I'm Dr. Amir, and with my esteemed colleague and brother, Drago Reid, we're your spiritual bros. Today we have an incredible guest, Eric the Healer Dadmehr. Eric is an incredible a mystic, born tapped in, knowing what is what from a very early age. And he is a very well known speaker, teacher, and of course, as we mentioned, an incredible healer. Today, we would like to take full advantage of his presence and ask him to share with us what he understands about the current state of affairs, probably some tips and tricks about maintaining perfect health, as he is a great example of this, being in perfect shape after many, many decades on the battlefield of spiritual awakening and enlightenment. So, welcome, Eric.
Thank you. What a great introduction. I'm so happy to do this show and talk about our favorite things. And thank you for having me here. I've been doing this for a while, like you say, and it really makes sense once, when you talk about the same thing each time and you practice, you improve each time, and then you get. And then also the teacher is supposed to be also the student and learn from his students, because they will say something that you don't think about, and you're like, oh wow, and that makes so much sense. Why didn't I look at it that way? So really, we have to, be open-minded to always improving. So when you have the correct attitude of always improving, that's the best attitude to have. And I'm always willing to listen to anybody. And I get hecklers sometimes, and I will either laugh or not laugh and say, well, you should have said this. This is funnier, or I'll heckle the heckler, So, there's nothing that can happen that I haven't dealt with. But asking me how to start the health journey is a great question, because I talked about liver cleansed, and really, there's really a cleanse, and then there's a detox, okay? And you don't want to do any cleanse. You want to do detox always, because you want to get everything out, because they don't, all these things like Metamucil, and they don't really work. And when you go to the doctor, they're not allowed to heal you. They have to follow the standard of care.
Yeah.
And because if they heal you, they don't make money. And so the conversation goes something like this. We want to try this on you, and then you come back and maybe we'll up the dosage, or
Right.
or then try these things for the side effects. And then it's crazy. And my question is, why do these doctors get paid thousands of dollars for you to take these pills? That should be a clue right there. And then when you look at the words, because it's right in your face when you look up pharmacology and what pharma really means. The devil's work and poison, and everything in Greek. It's really amazing to me how people are so I was like that too. I wanted to be a doctor. Okay, I was like that too, and that's why I learned, is because I went in the hospital to work. And the first time I realized was when somebody came to the emergency room where I was working, but they didn't have the right insurance. So they had to be sent elsewhere. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What about the Hippocratic Oath? What about, helping in the person? So, quickly I learned that, they don't really care, and that they lose their license if they cure cancer, or if they cure you or don't follow their protocol, they lose their license. And my best doctor friends have lost their licenses and are smart, and so starting the health journey, you start with your liver detox, and the best liver detox. I want you to go to academia.edu, where I'm actually mentioned 13 times, and I'm too cheap to pay to find out. Well, I think it's my friend doctors that put me in their papers, but I'm mentioned 13 times in these peer-reviewed papers. But academia.edu, they have this free article by Andreas Moritz. That's like Andrea with an S and Moritz, like M-O, and Ritz crackers, R-I-T-Z. And the article you want to find there for free, the ebook that you can download, is called The Liver and Gallbladder Cleanse. And I reread that, just the beginning forward, I read like 7, 10 times. It was so good because because then you realize you made the right decision to start right here by detoxing the liver, because you need your liver on your journey. Yeah, so you start with your liver first. And basically, our problem with our liver is, if you're as old as I am, I'll be 64 this year. You'll have like all these stones. They call them hepatic stones, and they're blocking the ducts, and so the bile isn't flowing freely, which does the magic and reduces the poison, and turns the cancer cells into healthy ones. And so when your bile isn't moving freely, you're not getting that magic and benefits. So what you want to do, and I did it for 3 years, okay, and then I found an easy way. I'm going to give you the hard way first, okay, because I think you have to go the hard way and to learn. um, and really make sure you get everything out first before you do it the easy way, okay? Which is really delicious and sweet and no problem. But what I did every month for 3 years is, on the new moon, I would fast. And then in the book, it says at 4 o'clock and at 6 o'clock, you drink 1 cup, a 6 ounce or half a cup of water with a tablespoon of Epsom salt. But instead of doing it at 4 and 6, I was doing it one more time, and I was doing it 3 hours. So 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 8 o'clock, I would drink 1 cup of water with a tablespoon of Epsom salt. And when you drink it, it flushes your system with water. So you're pooing water, and it's flushing anything in there. And also the Epsom salt, the magnesium, is opening your liver ducts. So it's ready for when you go to bed. You have to have, so you need Epsom salt. Now you need olive oil, and then grapefruit juice. You can either use lemon juice or grapefruit juice, but do not use those plastic bottles. Those aren't. I learned that there was a chemical in there that makes you blind, and I was so naive. I thought that was real juice, and it wasn't. Okay, it's really bad. That makes you blind. Actually, the chemicals in there, and it's
So
plastic, and the
preferably
plastic.
just juice lemons because they're so
Juice a
readily
lemon,
available. Yeah, juice it
juice a
fresh.
lemon, but yeah, fresh lemon juice or the real lemon juice, but make sure it says 100% juice. And then, but the best is freshly squeezed. And instead of using lemon, it's even better to I use the ruby grapefruit. I get the ruby grapefruit, and I take about 2 or 3 of them, and you only need 2 of them to make 6 ounces of juice. And then I put 6 ounces of juice with 4 ounces of olive oil. And the olive oil is really important because I everybody's olive oil in their home is rancid. Okay, you look at the bottom of the bottle and it has darkness. You got to throw it away. Never buy a large bottle of olive oil. Always buy the smallest bottles and buy many of them, and just open them up and use it all. Okay, and the best one, if you have a lot of money to spend, you go to, what's his name? Stephen Gundry. I worked with him a couple of times. He's got the best olive oil, Dr. Gundry, and because he buys it from a special place in Italy, where they actually, when you don't give the olive tree water and cause a drought-like situation, it puts more polyphenols in the oil, and so it has a high, rich amount, and it's very beneficial. So buy a bunch of those bottles. Hey, but I can't do 4 ounces of olive oil. I had to do 3 ounces, and that worked better for me. So I messed with it a little, and also you can also add a little dark maple syrup, which is the cancer cures. The dark maple syrup, which used to be called grade B, but now it's all called grade A, to confuse you, because they don't want you to know things like blackstrap molasses and dark maple syrup are some of the many cancer cures. And
Wow.
cancer is really parasites. Cancer has never been proven to exist. It's really a B17 deficiency, which is called Laetrile. In Iran, they would crack open the apricot seed and eat the little kernel
Yes.
inside. And
Yes.
and that has, and if you eat 7 or 8 of those a day, it kills the parasites, which is cancer. Okay. And it's also a acidification of the body when you're not, when you're highly acidic, because cancer can't survive in an alkaline atmosphere. And they can't survive in an oxygenated atmosphere. So, that's why the hyperbaric oxygen chambers were really working. But really, the problem with detoxing and doing these parasite cleanses is that the the chemicals but that's the next talk after this liver cleanse, what we're going to talk about. So
Beautiful.
let's go back to the liver cleanse because I will touch upon the parasite um, issue. But first, you got to clean the liver. And so
Yeah.
you've drunk at 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 8 o'clock. You drank 1 cup of Epsom salt. Now you're ready to go to bed at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. You do all your chores so you don't run around after you drink this olive oil mixture. Olive oil with grapefruit juice is what I use, or
Mhm.
or you can use lemon, like I said. And you always use 6 ounces of juice, but if you can do 4 ounces of olive oil, that's great. I couldn't. I
Mhm.
had to do three, so that might help you somehow. But once you drink that, you got to get horizontal, sideways, so because it's going to trigger your liver to excrete 1.5 quarts of bile. It's going to start just squirting out, you know. So, and that's when the magic happens. It's pushing all the stones out to pass through your system. So when you go to the bathroom, you feel these lumps come out of you. And if you look, you can see the dark gray ones are 30 years old, okay? Because once you do it for a while, then they go light green. Because I was ending up with light green and I knew I didn't, and you get them from eating like bread and, things that
Yeah.
aren't healthy for you, and soda. If you, I tell people who drink soda, because
Yeah.
it's so bad for you. Um, phosphoric acid
Yeah.
and
Um,
corn. Corn is
Eric, if I may now,
bad.
just for
Yes,
clarification,
go ahead.
you mentioned fasting. That's really one of
Yes,
the most ancient approaches to balancing the system. So you're not taking
yeah,
in any new poison, and then so with protocols like what you mentioned, then you encourage the body to start fixing itself. So when do you stop eating? Because this what you
yes.
just
The
mentioned,
next
it's
day,
very the
see,
next
it's
day.
almost done. It's almost
Ah,
done. You go to bed,
so
you
you
drink that
cleanse the
olive oil.
digestive system.
Yeah, it's very fast. You're only fasting. It's better to fast even longer, like you say.
Right.
It's much
Oh yeah,
better
yeah,
for
yeah.
you
Oh
if you
yeah.
can. That because animals, when they're sick, they naturally fast, and that's how they heal. Okay, because
Uh-huh.
your body knows exactly what to do, and it does it when it's fasting. Okay, so that's one of the best ways to heal anything. Okay, if you don't have any money and you want to heal, fast because
Yeah.
we're not really made. Our body knows exactly what to do, and it does it. And we screwed up by eating the wrong things, and we don't even really need food. Okay, because if we
Yeah.
breathe correctly, we get the plasma out of what we're getting out of food is plasma. And if you breathe correctly, see, we forgot the pauses in between the inhalation and exhalation. And that's when the magic happens, is when you pause. You have to,
Our ancestors, living in harmony with nature, they didn't eat every day, and
right. And the
so
proof
it's
of
built
that,
into us.
yes. And the proof of that is when you look at the Tartarian buildings, because Tartaria is blowing up, they didn't have toilets in the Tartarian buildings. And if they don't have toilets, then what does that mean? They're not eating food. And also they weren't
Wow.
burning wood in their fireplaces. The fireplaces were all clean. And that means that there was something else. Okay. So, these two facts, they were getting energy down the shaft. And we were getting energy down our shaft,
Yeah.
so, no food was coming and coming out, because later, in France, they would throw the shit out the window, into the street, and because there were no toilets. But in Iran, of course, they had toilets for thousands of years. They had an advanced aqueduct system, and So, I mean, it's all about Tartarian and the ancient technology. But see, we have to learn how to fast efficiently
Yeah.
and correctly, and it's really important part of it when you're doing this cleanse. You can't be eating and this detox, and really it's over now. After you go to bed, when you wake up, you poo all these stones out. You feel it, and then also as soon as you wake up, you got to do it again, the Epsom salt to flush out whatever stones are left. So again, you do it at, as soon as you wake up, and then 2 hours later. And if you want, you can do it a third time, all depending on how many you are coming out. Okay,
Right.
and that's basically the liver cleanse or
All
detox,
right.
and that's
So
really an excellent detox.
with this protocol, people need to make sure they're in good health. So there might be certain
Yeah.
individuals that this wouldn't work for. So, for example, someone with diabetes.
Thank
Um,
you for the disclaimer, okay? Because we're not giving medical advice, and we have to
there
give
we go.
this
Yeah.
disclaimer.
Yeah. So they
And this
gotta
is
they
just
gotta
our
do their
suggestion.
research.
And ask your doctor if
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
all right. Because that we cover our asses, and really the doctor should be listening and
Yeah,
learning
but
himself.
now on a note of confirmation that if this is something that somebody can do safely, if they're not taking meds, if they don't have any
Right,
pre-existing conditions and so on, it is highly
right.
beneficial. It is highly
It is.
beneficial. So, Eric, we started with the liver, the organ that detoxes the body, the most resilient organ. But there's so much good news. I mean, it's one of the only organs that fully regenerates. So even with severe
Yeah.
damage, this can be restored to perfect health at any stage in life.
Yes. I'm glad you said that because people have had to have parts of their liver removed and it regrew,
Grows
and
back, yeah, yeah,
replaced.
yeah. And you can
And this is
donate half of your
Mhm.
liver, and it grows back. The surgery is complex, but
Yes.
this is an incredible thing. Okay, so we started with the liver. Um, where would one move next?
No doubt about it. Parasites. That's all the doctors did in the 1800s. Okay. When you look at those old books, medical books, you see that all they did was pull worms out of people's asses. Okay. And the French joke about it. They say they have to go feed their worms when they go eat. You know, and see, wine, when you put wine in your mouth, it gets these, get wine, the wine test, you put it in your mouth and swish it around, then you spit it out and you look at it under a microscope and you see what's coming out in the wine. And so really this resveratrol and wine is really a healthy thing if you don't overdo it. But right now, wine and beer are poisoned with glyphosate, so we have to watch that too. So you want to get, organic and healthy versions because again, they're not, we have to, there are too many variables in today's age. So parasites are the next day. And of course, you want to do a parasites during a full moon opposite the new moon. So because, that's why your ass itches during the full moon as they're active, and that's why dogs are dragging their butts and they have parasites and worms. And see, we take oregano oil and it doesn't work. It's excellent, but it doesn't work because we have they protect themselves with biofilm, and this biofilm it doesn't let the oregano oil get to it. So what we have to do is soursop. Soursop is an excellent fruit from Asia, and that's why it cures cancer because cancer is parasites, and it kills all. It kills that. It destroys the biofilm and it gets right to the parasites and kills it. And so soursop is the first ingredient that we should take to destroy the biofilm. And then we can use oregano oil and wormwood and black walnut and clove. Those are all the magical things.
Yeah.
And if you get equal parts and grind them and make these little nut balls that you can eat them and it really you see what comes out of yourself. You'll be amazed what comes out in the toilet. These long worms,
Oh yes.
and and it's
It's
crazy.
quite easy to catch these. It just takes one, let's say,
Yes,
polluted salad. You eat
right.
outside, fancy restaurant, they don't wash the
Yeah,
vegetables, and there you go,
yeah.
you're infected. So it's really
Oh,
easy.
the cross contamination. I worked in the restaurant business, and I helped my father. And my father was always a fanatic and clean freak. And but he was always sick too, though,
Was it
because
Persian food?
yeah, Persian food mixed with Italian, Persian and
Okay.
Italian.
The two
It
best
was
cuisines in
excellent.
the world, yes?
Yeah, it was. It was video pizza, and we used to cater to the stars in Hollywood. A lot of stars knew my dad, and they didn't know that it was my dad because I knew the stars too from working at the movie theaters in Century City at Plitt Theaters. So I knew all the movie stars, and then I worked in Santa Monica at the grocery store where they all lived. So
Yes.
I knew them all and kissed a lot of famous actresses and models and went out with centerfolds and so I had a lot of fun time. But I also met the ufologist and health, Bob Beck and um, Jim Humble and um, the Zapper, Hulda Clark, the Zapper, and
Eric,
yeah,
if I may ask,
go ahead.
I was born in Iran. I was born in
Uh-huh.
'82, so this is after the revolution.
In Shemron, Tehran, in Tehran.
No, no, in Mashhad.
Oh,
So
Mashhad. Okay.
my family stayed in Iran. So we went probably through the darkest ages after the revolution and the years of war. When were you born in the U.S. or were you born in
I was
Iran?
bo- I was born in Sacramento, but I grew up in Iran till I was about
Oh,
9. I lived there about 6 years, and
yes.
I left in 1971. And I don't
Okay.
know if you did you know Abdul Reza Ansari?
Ansari.
He
I'm
was
not
like a
familiar.
minister. He was like prime
Okay.
minister to the Shah or something.
Right. Right.
That was
Okay. I
my
thought it.
that
Oh,
was my uncle. And so I grew up going to embassy parties
yes.
and meeting a lot of people that were big shots. I met Rockefellers and Rothschilds, and they were scary, evil.
Oh,
And they would pinch my. I would sit on their lap, and they would pinch my ass,
oh,
and I would look
oh
in their
no.
eyes, and their eyes would become slits, and I was scared. And I knew these people. These weren't regular people.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I was introduced at a young age, and I knew that there was some rituals that were going
Right.
on. And see,
Right.
and they told me when I was a kid, they said, Eric, when you get older, or they said Ali. I was Ali Kuchulu, Ali Reza Kuchulu. Okay, Ali Reza Dadmehr Kuchulu. My mom called me Eric because she was Norwegian, and so I kept Reza. I'm Eric Reza now because everybody's middle name is Reza.
Yeah.
Abdul Reza, Ali
Yeah.
Reza, Abu Nir.
Yeah.
So anyway, I experienced a lot of magic too in Iran. I met people. My grandfather
Yeah.
didn't told me not to tell my father, and he
Right.
took me to meet these cities, these ancient, hundreds of years old guy that were
Yeah.
dark
Yeah.
skinned and they
Yeah.
wore these white diapers and they were in the mountain. Like they took me to the up in the mountains where it was these plateaus, and my grandpa said, Eric, these guys are really smart,
Yeah.
and I know you're smart, and they're gonna fly, they're gonna levitate, and I want you to tell me how they do it. And I said, okay, Papa, okay, I'll do it, And so he took me to them, and when I met them, they were sitting in a triangle, and I walked up to them, and they looked at me and smiled, and they had these blue eyes that looked
Yeah.
like they had a light inside, and their skin was thick, leathery, and they all looked at each other like they recognized me and smiled
Yeah.
and nodded, and I
Oh
sat down in
yes.
their
Yes.
circle,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all of a sudden I I saw they got happier and happier, and just when I thought they were about to burst out laughing, they started to levitate. And I was like, "Whoa!" And I quickly looked around, and I didn't see any trees or buildings. There's all just sky. And how were they levitating? And so then,
Well, these guys,
yeah,
they're the old mages of Persia.
they
There's
are.
so much talk right now, and a lot of it is nonsense. that there have been this caste of mage that are the guardians of the land, and they're still there. Somehow, these guys survived into the modern times, Eric. Even
I
after
believe
the
it.
revolution, they were respected. They're the
Yeah.
guardians of the sacred fire. They have their old rituals, and they are, I think, after the past ice age, these were the ones that kept old magic and they spread it through the world.
Yeah.
Uh,
They had a
and
big book. They materialized a large book that's not normal. It was for giants.
right,
It,
right, right.
it's like a Tartarian book, and I heard this loud, a high pitched sound, and then a puff of smoke, and then the book was pointed towards the sky, and then it opened up like this, and then it came down into his hands, and I was so amazed,
You
and
gotta you gotta see you gotta see to believe. This isn't
yeah,
something that you can.
yeah,
I've seen some of these guys.
no
Then
doubt
they
about it.
also disguise themselves as modern day Sufi or the Darvish,
Right,
but they're
right.
older, a lot older, and they
My,
do sort of
mhm.
camouflage with modern, let's say, Shia religion philosophy, just so they fit in better. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. You got to see to believe.
My relatives, Dr. Tehrani was also the head of the Sufi movement in
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Tehran.
yeah,
Dr.
yeah,
Tehrani, that was my relative. Also, the
yeah.
Tawfiq family for the Ruznama Tawfiq was my
Yes, yes, yes.
relatives, and also the Ansari and the um I forgot, not Akhtarzada. Anyway, I'm getting old and forgetting names, but all
You
these
do
families were surely,
you do hold the codes.
yeah,
You're a
definitely,
reincarnation of older
definitely.
masters.
I was born 11:11 p.m. and there's
Yes.
no doubt about it, okay? Because I asked my nanny in Iran because my parents couldn't answer my questions. And I said, "Listen, when you go to the bathhouse on Wednesday, find somebody who talks can answer my questions." And she found somebody, and so I met this person, and they verified that I was that guy, because she had to check my body. I had to get naked, and she looked at me and checked for these signs, like what my left ear is lower, and I have a mole on my chest and other places, and she felt the back of my skull, and she said, "Oh yeah, this guy's, he's the one we've been waiting for." And
Yeah.
so I know I'm here to kick butt and clean up, and whoever that is, I know that, I hope I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, is what I'm always
I think
asking,
so. I think so. And
you
so
know,
here we
I,
are, picking
yeah,
your brain for health, health
sure,
and well-being. Well, you
yeah.
know, healthy body. This is the foundation. If the body is unwell, then you're going to find stagnation in your spiritual practice.
And see, we have to remember, there's the physical, the mental, and the intellectual cycles of biorhythms. It's a 23 physical day cycle, a 28-day emotional cycle, and a 33-day intellectual cycle. And we're not this meat suit. We are soul. We are spirit. Even though there are many non-participant characters, NPCs on the planet, only 1 out of 5 people have a soul on the planet. But the ones that do, we are eternal from God and Creator. And we have the little candle of the big flame, and we cannot be killed. We will
Yeah,
always. I've had many near death experiences, and I was always conscious wherever I was, and looking down upon the situation, seeing my body, and I told everybody when I came back what happened, and they knew that I was awake and I saw what happened, because how else would I know when I was underwater or whatever?
right.
So definitely there's, we have, and that's how I even became more fearless, is by, having these near death experiences. And there's some kind of rule that they can't kill you, they're these ancestral places that our souls go to, that they cannot go to because
Right.
they're not like us. And so I
And
want to
by
guide
they,
people.
you're
uh
perhaps by they cannot follow, you probably are referring to the control system. The Draco
right.
reptilians, the Anunnaki, lots of species of gray and insectoids, those that are harming humanity. Uh,
Yes, yes. Those are the ones they released and talk about first. The why don't they talk about the nice ones? There's
A
good
lot of
and
nice
bad
ones.
everywhere, actually.
That's so
There's
beautiful.
good and bad Pleiadians, there's good and bad Anunnaki, there's good and bad reptilians, and
Well,
Draco, there's
thank
good and
you,
bad Draco.
thank you, thank you, thank you for that.
Yeah.
That is
I
the
think I'm a
truth.
good dragon. I think I'm a good white dragon
I'm
because
a good dragon, so yeah, that's good.
yes, I think we
So,
are. I think
Eric, you were talking about four of the natural remedies that can assist in detoxing. So one was
yes.
oregano, black walnut bark. What were
Yes,
the?
oregano oil, black walnut husk, wormwood, and then also black seed oil is the binder that gets the dead bodies out because you have all these dead parasites in you that have been pissing and creating this biofilm and protecting themselves. And what gets it all out is the black seed oil, is the binder that takes it out. So, but there's excellent combinations that are on sale right now at
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Amazon, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know,
They're available. And oregano oil, for example, this is something. It's
yes,
very the
they
use of
mix
it is
they mix the
ancient.
oregano oil with the black seed oil, and they
Mm-hmm.
and they use about 6,000 milligrams, and that's a good one. Rosilia is the great brand, but it doesn't work unless you do the soursop first. You really have to remove that biofilm to
Mm-hmm.
get at the parasites. Otherwise, you're not getting at the parasites. And they don't really tell you this because they want to keep selling, more oregano
Right.
oil.
It's
But
kind of
if you do it
incredible,
right,
isn't it, that
it
these parasites they also evolve. So that
they do.
biofilm around them,
Right.
they're intelligent. I mean, you see this in nature. Everything wants to survive and thrive. So
Right.
even bacteria, they become resistant.
And they
Viruses
become
change,
super bugs.
and then they
Yeah.
become superbugs. Well,
Right.
there's something positive with this whole age of AI. Something that would take a regular team of people, because we get tired, we get bored, we get sick. Something that would take us 200 years with AI, they go through all the combinations of, let's say, molecules, and for the first time in many decades, they've come up with new antibiotics. So it's
Yes.
not all
Th-
doom and gloom.
No.
We're moving forward in a positive way. Okay, Eric. So we
And there's
started.
good and bad AI too.
There's
So
good. Yes, we gotta be honest. We can't look at a
right.
whole kind or a whole species and judge them as all the same. That is foolish. So it's really an
Yeah.
individual evaluation to see what that individual does. Totally agreed. Okay,
Yeah.
so we
Yeah.
started with liver. Then
Hmm.
we moved to a cleanse of the parasites, which
Right.
makes perfect
Getting
sense. So where do
yes.
we go from there? Where does nutrition come in?
Well, that's an excellent question next because depending on the condition of if a lot of people have problems going to bathroom every day regularly, and they're not regular, and they're not eating the right foods, they don't drink. When we grew up in Iran, we had the salad after the meal, but they do it backwards here and have the salad first. And you want the roughage to push the food down. And also
Right.
they drink and dilute their asses when they eat. My nanny didn't give me anything to drink. She wouldn't let me drink anything until I was done eating. She said it was bad. You don't drink when you eat. And if you drink alcohol, you don't digest anything until the alcohol is digested first. So you can't really have alcohol with your food. And you're supposed to be drinking water, throughout the day, at least probably like a gallon a day, and mixed, spread out 8 glasses throughout the day, okay? And but not when you're eating because it dilutes the acids to break down the food in assimilation because assimilation is when your food is going through your intestine, when you get the energy out of the food. Now, if you've masticated well and chewed it well and mixed it with your saliva, it breaks it down so you can get the most out of your food. Now, if you don't want to get the most out of your food and you don't want to digest it, drink water beforehand and you pass it through without, and that's one way to lose weight, but, I like to get my money's worth and the most out of my food. So, I drink after I'm done eating, half hour later, hour later, whatever. And I do my salad after my meal. But I like to have soup. I like to drink my. It's hard to chew and eat all the vegetables we're supposed to eat, so I like to drink my vegetables in soups and in drinks, and because you can get a lot more that way by juicing, and really when they're and then juicers, they're not all the same because if your juicer whips air into it, it's killing enzymes, and you have to drink whatever you make immediately. Otherwise, it's dead later. But the best juicers are the mastication ones that push
Cold
it
press.
and
Yeah.
cold press because then you can drink it days later, and it's the same. If you make a lot, you still get the benefits of all the enzymes and everything. So even juicing is important. Not to kill the beneficial things, but that's the best way is to get I remember growing up in Iran, they loved carrot juice, and I had a lot of carrot juice, and they had cucumber juice, which is so rich in silica and for your hair, skin, and nails. And if you ever have problems with your eye, you can grate a cucumber into two paper towels and make a poultice and put it on your eye. I used to work with Fabio, the famous guy, as a photographer, and the models would put slices of cucumber on their eyes because they were partying at night and getting dark circles,
Yeah.
and so it'd take the dark. I should have put some cucumbers on my eyes, but they got rid of the circles, and it's rich and it's good for eye problems, skin, hair, and nails too. But drinking it is so delicious, and Iran has so many delicious fruits and vegetables, and I'm drooling as I'm telling you, because I remember having all these ice creams. You don't think it's delicious, but a cucumber ice cream, and they make all these funny things, lemon juice and and
Yes.
and
Rose water,
tea, so
pistachio.
rose
Oh my God,
water. Yeah,
saffron. Stop it
right.
already. Where you're.
Saffron is the most expensive herb, and the
Yeah.
Iran has the best saffron,
Yeah.
as opposed to Spain, the lighter red color. And
Right.
and that's what the color the Dalai Lama used to
Ah,
dye their
yes. Yes.
robes, with that
Right. Right.
saffron, and it's as expensive as
Yes.
gold,
They
and
do.
it's
It
great
seems
for
the
digestion.
yeah the Buddhists, they do seem to have this hierarchy. It's not all equality. So that
Yeah,
saffron is massively expensive. So the more
it is.
down to earth monks would wear black.
Right,
It has
right.
nothing to do with light and dark. It's just cheaper. And
It
so
is.
that saffron color, that would be enormously expensive. And I suppose they would get it on the Silk Road as merchants would travel, bringing spices back and forth from China. So yes, the Persian culture, they have amazing food and amazing plant medicine. That's something to
Food
be
is your
uh,
best medicine.
the best medicine. Oh, it
Food.
depends really. Who?
Food is your best medicine.
Oh
So they
yes, yes,
ate
yes, yes,
they
yes.
ate
Of
well.
course, they ate well, and then it became excessive. So if
Right.
you ever go to a Persian restaurant, they've got these little pillows. So when you overdose on food, you can go into a food coma, and then you wake up and there's the hubble bubble, and then you have sweets and tea. So they know how to really really do it properly. Um,
It is. It's funny. It's funny
so
because they say that if you're what's wrong with you? Don't you like my food? Why aren't you eating more? You know, and they keep putting it on, and you have to just say, listen, I love your food. It was delicious. I ate too much. I'm about to blow up.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and they want to make sure they're the best hosts in the world, and the Scandinavians too, the Norwegians. So I'm
Oh
a
my
combination
goodness.
of both.
Well, okay, that's amazing. Now, apparently, in terms of nutrition, if there are two foods that will give you the absolute most, one would be broccoli, and the other is brown rice. And so these two contain the majority of the substances the body needs. Now, if you add some Himalayan salt to this, that covers pretty much everything. So you can live indefinitely in perfect health just eating broccoli and brown rice. And I would never wish this on my worst enemy. Because, oh my God, come on, like, what about all the other delicious, yum yum stuff in the world?
Right. And I don't even know if really that's healthy because, broccoli wasn't made by God. We made broccoli. We made it later. God didn't make broccoli. And and brown rice,
Definitely.
in Iran, there's thousands of different rices,
Yes,
there's so
yes.
many wild rices is healthier, there's so many rices. And there were in some places in Iran, the doctors would give you a prescription of rice to heal you, a special rice, just like in Norway, the doctor would make a special recipe for the bread. So you go and follow the recipe and it heals you because it's about healing the gut and stuff. But I asked my friend Dr. Um I forgot his name. Um I asked a famous doctor friend of mine what he should eat, what we should eat every day. And he said that it was avocado
Mhm.
gives us, and then barley, because the barley kills these, helps you as a medicine. And the avocado gives you exactly the right fiber and what you need. And I have a friend that moved out of the country because he wasn't even getting the right avocados here. He went to a better place, to get to, because he eats he eats avocados, and so, and then they say a banana gives you, the most, everything perfectly what you need if a food, but there's more potassium in a coconut water. And eating a coconut, see, there's only there are three things you can put in a needle in your arm if you don't have an IV of saline solution. You can use coconut water
Wow.
is one of the things. You can also use seawater. Seawater is very much like our blood. And also you can use urine, your own urine. Okay, that's also another thing. So those are the three things that can save your life if you need an IV somewhere. But so coconut water is turns out to be something really healthy. And
Yeah, yeah.
my friend had leg cramps. He was asked me what he should do, and I told him, I said, hey, whenever we ski, why do you think we have coconut water? Is
Mm.
because leg cramps. I said, just drink a coke. So we went and bought coconut water last night, and that helped him quickly. The magnesium is more,
Yeah,
it's richer in potassium, richer in potassium than a banana. So, so those are perfect foods. But
amazing.
yeah, that's what
So
I would say. Huh?
now towards that journey of balance and health. So we started with the liver, we moved to a cleanse of the parasites, we touched upon nutrition and the importance of that. So when do we reach spiritual practices for physical health?
Excellent. Excellent, because that's exactly the next step. Because you have to question yourself. How hard are you? We can be our own worst enemy. And if you're not, and it's all about your environment. Okay. So if you're not in the right environment, you're not going to be happy. And if you don't agree with your mate or your partner, and you're always arguing, and it's detrimental to your health, and either you change your attitude, which changes the whole situation, or you change your environment and get the hell out of Dodge. Because you have to really have a clean mind to
Yeah,
have a clean body. And because I remember when the Iranian situation happened in the 80s.
yeah,
I had a friend, a cousin named Amir, and he was a
yeah,
very handsome guy, and he was the most handsome guy in our
yeah.
family, and he was a pilot, and he was a real playboy. And then he got in a big argument with his father, and it bothered him so much that the acid gave him a tumor, and he got cancer in the skull, and he
Hmm.
died.
Oh
And
dear.
because he was
Oh,
so
I'm so
pissed off.
sorry. Yeah,
So mental health is so important.
right.
Finding yourself. When I take B complex, I'm not as stressed. And things that usually bother me don't piss me off as much, because if I'm very mad and I
Mm.
touch a light switch, I burn the light bulb out, even if
Right,
it's a new
right, right.
light bulb.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so I have to be very careful because I have a lot of energy, and people feel it. They know when I walk into a room, and it can be measured. It's been measured and proven to me by my friends
Yes,
who have these
yes,
LifeWell BioWell systems and meters. Because I have friends that measure these things, and go to pyramids, and
yes.
you know. So I know that you have to be in a good, healthy state. And so, um,
So you
love
just
yourself, and it
touched
starts with
upon the
yourself.
stress, the element of, let's say, the importance of peace in well-being. So if you're stressed out, that's going to
Right,
mess the body up. Now, Drago
right.
has done a lot of work towards um, giving people healthy suggestions, advice towards, for example, if they're in toxic relationships and so on. Drago, would you like to add your point of view on, let's shall we put it under the umbrella clause of self-love, not to accept subpar behavior from anyone. We deserve to be treated well. So I'd appreciate if you would share with us what you think about this.
Yeah, I think one of the core fundamental tenets to health in any human body outside of literal nutrition is mental health, spiritual health, the light of the actual light body. And what I'm coming across with most people is when I get them under, I find out that there's a lack of love in that body. They're holding on to stuff that happened to them in the past, and it's causing this psychological loop of trauma because people don't want to let go and forgive what happened to them, so they just run this loop. And when you're running this loop, it causes all kinds of psychological problems. It causes electrical problems. Your body starts shutting down. You start seeing that. You start getting injuries in the lower half of your body. You start seeing that certain parts of your body are starting to get cut off. You start to lose your voice because you were overpowered. It causes all kinds of health problems. So nutrition is very important, but I don't think that it is the most important thing. I think the most important thing is if you identify what is causing all the physical problems in your body. Because with QHHT, we found out that sometimes it's deficiencies with vitamins, nutrition, environmental, definitely 100%. But a lot of the times, I'm getting close to doing 1,000 sessions, and getting close to doing 1,000 sessions, I've seen this pattern. Most of it is actions. Actions is causing the physical incompatibilities with the body because you're running an old program, a program that could have hurt you 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, even 50 years ago. And that program is still running in your body. It's energetic in nature. If you don't release that energy and trauma, it'll slowly kill you. So no matter what nutrition you do, I am a hardcore nutritionalist. I gave up, I stopped drinking sodas probably 17 years ago. I never went back, not one time. I think about it, sure, it was delicious sip, but like that's it. I'll never do it. Like I drink a ton of water. One of my biggest poisons I say would be sweet tea. But you know what? That's better than a lot of the other toxic stuff that's in this world. So, just like Amir is saying, spiritual nutrition is one of the most important tenets for the body, and forgiving the past. Because when I say forgive the past, you don't necessarily have to forgive the person to their face. That's not required in this holographic matrix. You forgive them to the universe. You let it go. You say, yes, you taught me this. I am stronger now, even though I was physically, mentally defeated and abused. So that's just important to mention in something with the topic as big as health, because I'm a nutrition freak too. Like I take a lot of vitamins that are prescribed by doctors, stuff that is tested before it actually comes to me. I don't buy from GNC, from Walmart, from Vitamin Shop, because all the tests done on that shown that it doesn't even contain the active ingredient that's listed on the bottle. So people needs to do your research. It's Dr. Barbara O'Neill's work is what Eric was talking about earlier with the walnut, the black seed oil, and using the carriers and some of the parasitic cleansing we're doing. It's not dissolving the biofilm, just like Eric said. But that goes even further back to Dr. Sebi's work in the 1980s. He was the one that discovered soursop is 10,000 more times powerful than chemotherapy. 10,000
Wow.
times more.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
also,
I'm
Amir, what
getting
Eric was
goosebumps
saying,
all over. Oh my God.
yeah, it's real stuff. And what Amir was saying earlier when you mentioned broccoli and rice, what Eric was talking about is Dr. Sebi's work. Dr. Sebi found out that broccoli and cauliflower is a hybrid. Hybrids are not naturally created by
God.
God. It's a man-made. You're combining two different things, kind of like the modern pig. is the Anunnaki domestication of the boar and a human. That's
Wow.
why the pig tests extremely high for human DNA. They have human eyes. We can use their valves for heart transplants. So like it's a pretty damn deep rabbit hole, but I think the biggest part of it before I pass it on to you guys is parasites is the number one most important thing, period. Because it was the Rockefeller initiative in the 1800s that removed all that. And it was Rockefeller alone, John D. Rockefeller came up with the medical term medical doctor. And a medical doctor was defined as someone who prescribes chemicals.
Mhm.
So we need to get to the point where we bring this forward to the United Nations. It has to be United Nations decree at some point where we realize that we've all been lied to. It was done to control us. The health pyramid was designed to control us, to keep us where we would constantly be fatigued, no energy, none of that. So
Yeah.
that's what we need to do. We need to delete all of our previous academia for the Rockefeller model, and we need to start over with nutrition and parasites, because that's the two things that is not taught to doctors to become a PhD and to get a doctorate. Because they,
Okay.
they get taught less than 15 hours of nutrition, and they do not get taught about parasites.
No, no. Now, this is so
Excellent,
amazing.
excellent. Excellent. You
But
know that
but
he's exactly right. There's
yeah,
they only get a 2 hour video for medical. They get one
nutrition.
2 hour video. That's their educational on health. Okay, and then also the bringing up the pyramid. You know, the pyramid is upside down, and it was created in the 70s, and dairy was completely left off. But the Dairy Council, you saw what happened when they tried to fight the Dairy Council. They were so powerful. You know, milk does not do a body good, and it's not even healthy. You know, the milk that does a body good is the raw milk that they're dumping out.
Mhm.
And you know, they're you know, I used to work at Food, Drug, and Radiation Safety, and they used to go confiscate the people downstairs on the fourth floor. They would go and uh, pour out all this raw milk, which actually is much better for you, has all the close. But you know what's really good is goat milk, because
Mm.
that's homogenized in the goat's stomach and it's closer to our own mother's milk. So that's what we really need. If you drink milk, you drink raw goat milk.
Mhm.
That's more correct. Or real, you know, in Germany they have milk maidens. They have these women that go
Wow.
around in the office and they pull their breast out and they give the employees milk fresh from
I
the
think
tit.
I think
And
that would rise some eyebrows.
well,
Probably not
definitely that
large
it,
scale
it, it
viable.
increases productivity, and what a great place to work, you know. And you know, you have these milk maidens coming out. So you know, that's really what I'm trying to say is it's closer to, you know, what you're supposed to have. It doesn't. So he said some great things, Drago. Thank you for, you know, sharing. What's the other thing? Oh, the Rockefellers. They didn't screw up just medicine. They also screwed up the education. They went into As soon as they went into hospitals, they took out all the healthy natural things and they replaced it with petroleum products because they were drilling for oil, and you know, so they mixed it with. And then they took out. They went to education and they stopped teaching about Tartaria and flat Earth, and they pulled those out of all the books, and taught us different, you know, their agenda. So, and it's a
Lots of
dumbing down of America where you learn all these things by Charlotte Iserby,
it's global.
Iserbyt.
It's
Uh-huh.
global. You see
Yeah, it is
the
global.
curriculum because I spent probably 15 years as an academic and a teacher. And so over the years, I saw a watering down of the curriculum. So the
Yes.
mathematics that you would learn as a student of physics or
Yes.
engineering back in the 80s, they don't know that anymore. They don't teach it. And so
Right.
that's just in my own field. So there's definitely this intention of um, making us easier to control. Let's just put it that way.
You know,
And
my
also,
grandfather was head. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to follow up the Standard Oil stuff. You're right.
Yeah.
That was the core of why pharmaceutical companies were created, because it was the 1800s. The Rockefeller and Rothschild families were getting fined all around the world, not only kicked out of all the 131 countries from around the world, but they were actually, a lot of them were poisoning the public. Their industrialization, them bringing in the trains and just whatever that word's called, the mechanized industry, whatever. And what happened was is they was dumping all the biotoxins and all the toxins of the industrialization directly into the water. So what
Right.
happened is they started getting fined out the a-hole. So what they decided to do, they said, let's institute something where we can legally dump our toxic petroleum, and we figured it out. It was genius. Let's start dumping it into the food system and into the medicine system. We can legally offload these petroleum-based poisons, lower doses, and by doing that, we can guarantee we will cull the population. It's always been about just culling the population. They've announced that since the damn Sumerian tablets. It's always been the plan since we were Lulus with the Anunnaki. We became growing and bellicose, and we were like babies, what the Sumerian tablets say, and like they wanted us wiped out. So this is what this elite plan is, just completely wiping us out. And to follow up also what Eric was talking about with the broccoli, what Dr. Sebi Amir, what he was talking about was any hybridized food automatically causes cancer. So no matter
Wow.
how good what nutrition comes from it, the fact that it was not created by God and it's not organic and it was a GMO, you're splicing, you're using genetic engineering to splice to make cauliflower and broccoli. So at that point, they found out it causes cancer. The whole brown rice thing. Dr. Sebi also found out in the 1980s both brown rice and white rice is bad. And white
Oh
rice
yeah.
is worse because they clean it in chlorine. But what he did say was wild rice is the only one that's compatible with the human body. So like
Yep.
the other rices, sure you can live on it, but the problem is he
Right.
found out that
Right.
it's a food source for these parasites. And
Right.
and that's what happens. The parasites start eating it, and it causes the large amounts of cancer. And Dr. Sebi in the 1980s, he found out through nutrition alone, by eliminating any kind of hybrid food out of your diet, period, and
Mm-hmm.
only consuming anything over 7.2 to get an alkaline. So 7.2 and lower is acidic.
Mm-hmm.
Anything in acid will kill you. The parasites, they eat the literal acid. And so like a lot of friends of mine, they drink sodas constantly. I'll never
Right.
judge them. But two things in soda. Number one, the carbonation. Carbonation is toxic to the human body. It can actually start killing the cells that it interacts with. And once it's in the bloodstream, it starts suffocating the oxygen in the body. So I've done research for a long time, and I even went as far as to find Dr. Sebi's sour sop. I found that they sell it in Miami at a place that 100% organic. I can't think of the name. It's been years since I've said their name. I need to get it. We all need to
Yeah.
get on this regime,
Oh yeah.
especially the sour sop, because he said sour sop alone, you can be a stage 4 cancer patient, start sour sop, and it'll start killing the parasites that's causing your cancer. Because
Right.
he did find out that cancer is indeed caused by parasites, and it's not just a tumor growth that starts growing. It's actually sacks upon sacks of breeding of parasites.
Oh my goodness.
Excellent.
Wow.
Excellent.
Wow.
Also the same plan was used for fluoride. They were refining metals and glass, and then they found this byproduct they got, the sodium fluoride, and they didn't know how to get rid of it. And they were using it as rat poison. It's the only ingredient in rat poison. And then they put it in the water, the melon family and the Alcoa aluminum and all these big companies, they got rid of the byproduct. And they also noticed, see, when they first started putting fluoride in the water in the gulags, in the Russian concentration camps, and then later in the Auschwitz, the German
Yeah.
Nazi
Yeah.
camps, they noticed that it made the people docile, and it calcified their pituitary pineal gland. So it cut them off from their psychic center, and it made them docile. So they only needed 1/4 the security guards that they were using. And so that's why America started putting it in the water. And also, it's the biggest experiment ever done, because if you look at all the cities that fluoridated, they have the largest incidence of bone fractures. like the femur and the hip bone, which are the largest bones in your body.
Yes,
They
osteoporosis,
shouldn't be
all sorts of
breaking.
things. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So after the liver cleanse and after the parasite cleanse, we have to detox the fluoride and decalcify our pituitary pineal gland so we can connect to the psychic spiritual centers. And how you do that is with distilled water. Distilled water breaks down that calcification and gets rid of opens your third eye back again, because our third eye
Yes,
is so powerful, and that's what they don't want is us waking up, because we're
it's
all waking up now.
really
And
interesting
so
that
excellent, Drago.
when you
Thank you.
do the distillation, I'm living in England, and so you get something like maybe 6 liters of tap water, and as it distills down, you get the pure distilled water, and on the bottom you have this brown orange sludge. I don't know what that is. And so it builds up, and then you need some pretty powerful acid to melt that out so the machine doesn't burn. And so this is present. But there's something. Now, I'd like to introduce a ray of light and hope that these magnificent machines, we are still here. They still overcome. And so, something that is immensely helpful is connection to source. And this thing of connection to source, this is not woo-woo, it is not spiritual, it is not religious, it is technology. It comes in the way of balance, transmutation, and evolution. Now, Eric so wonderfully, knowledgeably shared about parasites, Drago the same, the effect that they have on the body, but parasites are not just limited to the physical dimension. And so once you go into the non-physical states, life exists everywhere. And so that's part of the thing that I do, shamanic healing. I call it an energy car wash, where people come in, almost 90% of people are riddled with energetic parasites. And some of these guys are energetic, they are intelligent. So they mess with the thought processes, they mess with your sleep, they mess with your mood, they mess with the amount of energy you have. There's harvesting of energy going on. So, for example, theft of the Kundalini energy, the energy of the root chakra. And so there's a bigger picture. It's not just limited to well-known banking families, as mentioned here, that's influenced the oil and the, let's say, big corporate entities that make our food, make our medicine. It goes above. So the pyramid goes on a lot higher than these people. So the best way to become free of anything that does not serve you in terms of non-physical things, and that's just very general, is calling to source, reinstating your will, your free sovereign will to be free, and asking for divine assistance. Many may bring so many forms of bells and whistles, rattles and drums, and dance under the pale moonlight, and bring in so many different instruments. But if you boil it down to the purest form, it is connection to our truest identity. Source, that is where we are all coming from. And anything other than that is an illusion or a distortion. Like we talk about hybridizing plants without knowing the hell what we are doing to ourselves down the line. So that connection to source and asking to be free is the fix for all spiritual ailments, without going into more detail. And so that is what's shared in every modality of spirituality, religion, magic. That is the powerful way to be free. So, Eric, would you like to comment about spiritual well-being, anything that you have found to be very useful in terms of sovereignty and cleanliness?
I'm so glad you said what you did, because that's probably the next thing you have to do is you have to we don't realize that we made these contracts, and that we have to release these contracts, and we don't realize that there are archons, these spider-like beings that live off your life force and live off you being pissed off. They call it luge. They live off your luge. And growing up in Iran, we called it Jen. They told us as kids, not to go shoot the bow and arrow because you might blind the jinn and they'll get mad at you. So you're reminded as a kid growing up in Iran about the jinn, and these jinn are genies or jinn, Djinn. And see, these are the archons. And you look at the chemtrails they're dropping, and the chemtrails, it leaves this spider-like web over all the trees, and then it gets on you, and it's this particles that enter you, and it tries to work with the AI in us of the archon and but when you're vibrating a high frequency, they have no control over you. We transmute and vibrate the shit out of everything with love and compassion. So when you hold a high frequency vibration, they can't mess with you. And what's so funny about AI, people always remind me, oh, that's AI. Well, I have news for you. If we're living in the Matrix and this is a hologram, what are we? Okay. you know, so, even though this is all AI, we are soul, or 1 out of 5 people are soul, and we have to remember that we have a connection to source, God. And no matter what you call it or how you spell it, it's there. And I've had many, many vindications all my life and affirmations that, there's a God, no doubt about it. And when you live that, when you follow that Christ life of forgiveness and letting go, like Drago said, letting go and forgiving, you have this higher, because you protect your heart, you protect yourself again, because you're not getting pissed off, and you're letting it go and saying, I wish you the best. I tell people, I said, I'm sorry you're having a bad day, but you're not going to screw up mine. And I want to remind you that you're responsible for your own happiness. And and you can't change whatever's happened. You can't change the past, and once you realize these fundamental truths, that nothing happens by chance or accident, and that everything happens for a reason, and you start to learn about the rhythm and flow of life, and then you go with the flow, and you see when to go and when to stop. And living by the ocean for many years, I learned about the waves and the rhythm of life, and when to dive in, when to catch the wave, when to kiss the sand and let the wave go over, because you don't want to be pounded by the wave. And it's really the same way with life. You have to find the rhythm and go with the flow, and have that correct attitude of the Christ consciousness of love and forgiveness. And because Christ never said he was God, and he set his example for us to follow, and he's in every major religion. Every major religion talks about, and even the super soldiers that and the military that goes in these deep underground military bases, they have to sign a disclosure and non NDA, or that they cannot say the name of Jesus Christ, because it's that powerful, and they can't handle
Yeah,
that name.
that's only for active military. That does not include black ops. A lot of the stuff I'm
Okay.
involved in does not include NDAs. But
Okay.
I think what Amir, you're right about the Jesus connection. You are not allowed to say the word Jesus in the dumbs, because it can cause
Right.
psychological reactions to the other ETs that are there that are not of the light orientation. So if you do
Right.
sign an NDA and you accidentally say Jesus because you get shocked because you just saw the draconian,
Yeah.
you can have your NDA canceled and you could be terminated. But I think what Amir was
Yeah.
saying is, like, no matter how good we are as a soul, there is targeting that's high level. We all know what it's like to be targeted. So, sure, high
Right.
vibration, you don't want to react, you want to see everything as a lesson. That's not going to prevent entity attachments, because me and Amir, we meet some of the most amazing, kind-hearted souls in the world. And when we do sessions on them, unfortunately, they have entity attachments.
Yeah.
They did things in their life. Even though you're a good soul, you can still hold on to not forgiving somebody. You can still not want to leave the traumatic situation you're in because you think there is nowhere I can go, or someone's threatening to kill me, or I have kids involved. So there is that energetic aspect too. You're right,
Yeah.
Eric. You have to have this high vibrational kind of thing, but you have to realize that you can vibe high but take no shit because
Right.
they attack the most high vibrational ones because we
That's true.
Oh
produce an
yeah.
energy
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
very siphonable and they will hit us. They hit the best of us. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, in this holographic matrix, there's viruses and coding and astral attachments. No matter how much you're high vibing, even Jesus was attacked. You know what I'm saying? But
Oh
you
yeah.
know,
Even more so.
yeah, in ways we can understand. But you said Jesus never said, "I am not God." He actually did say he was God. He says everyone is God. I am the Son of God, and
Yes,
I'm also the
exactly.
Father.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you
That's what I meant.
So to live in
Is
that
not
sovereignty, you have to acknowledge that you,
uh
Eric, are God. Amir, you are God. We are
right.
God, splitting
Right.
ourselves into a fractal thinking we're not God. So by
Right.
doing that, we're
Mhm.
causing separation. I just wanted to make that clarification. It was a little, it was a little simple
It
thing to
is.
say,
No,
but
thank
like
you for
It's
clarifying.
good to be sharp on the definitions. Makes a huge difference.
totally, like I
It
can see
is.
from a healer side, but when you do regressions specifically, Eric, it's a completely different ballpark. We are dealing with nothing but satanic people, extraterrestrial aliens that are regressive. They're there to handle you. They're there to hurt the client. So like, how do we protect ourselves? Like this is a question to both of you guys. How do we protect ourselves where we're not going to be attacked etherically, astrally, entity based, or through programs? That's the toughest question because I represent the SSP side. So what happens to me and my brethren is completely different than what happens to regular Earth humans. Sure, there's targeting, sure, there's archons, sure, there's frequency stuff, but with us, they ramp that shit up in ways no one will understand. And every time Amir's done a reading on me, he saw that, like, he can see that I have a white lion heart from Lyra. I
Yeah.
love everything unconditionally. That doesn't mean I like you. I can still acknowledge that you're God and you're treating me like shit, but I'm not going to hate you at all. Like most of my life, I did hate people. I did hate people that abused me, and I hate certain types of archetypes of people. Then I realized I was losing because I was creating that separation, not realizing that these are just lessons. So why the hell am I taking it so personally if it's all an illusion? It's all a holographic matrix. You know what I'm saying? So that's what kind of helped freed me, but it doesn't mean I'm not getting attacked to the max. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
That's
My
for
soul is
sure.
high vibrational as F. But unfortunately, people like me, I'm dangerous because I wake people up. So no matter how high vibe I am, no matter how bright my light is on the inside, I am a big freaking target. So we
The
have to
most
we
the
have to
most
talk about
shiny
that.
ones, the most shiny ones. So Drago, you mentioned that high vibrational energy seems delicious, as the terminology Eric used, the lush, that life force or prana or connection to source, beings that through acts of violation kill that connection to source have no choice but to become parasites. They need to feed off beings that still have source connection, that source of all life, or that love that lies at the foundation of all creation.
Which is the most
Otherwise, they will
powerful.
perish. Most powerful. Now, ways that we get diminished. Let's start with infiltration. It comes through emotional manipulation. So, if you open your heart to someone and love them, the greatest damage can be done to you by the people you love.
Always.
And because we have no shields against them, shields are down, we are open and vulnerable. So it may come through people that we care for, family, children, and so on. And this falls under the general umbrella of emotional distress or emotional euphoria. Any massive peaks or dips in your emotional state will weaken the aura, and in those moments of weakness, infiltration may happen. So it's essentially about mastering your thoughts and emotions. So if you stay flatline, somebody's trying to make you angry or trying to make you sad, and you have that mastery to see it for what it is and not react to it. This is
Non-attachment.
difficult. This is so difficult, but it's achievable. So one is emotional control. That takes care of probably 95% of things. Another form of infiltration that is very common comes through the astral, upper and lower astral, which is the dream time. Many events may happen where people get infected through the dream time. This is also a thing. So towards that, astral landscaping comes in. So what do I mean? Your home has windows and doors and walls. If not for them, insects and animals and people come in. This is also true for the astral landscape. So I grew up in Iran. We have the warmest deserts on earth. So I know how dangerous quicksand is. So I created an ocean of quicksand. Anything that doesn't serve me gets sucked in. So then I thought, okay, I don't have time to collect dried up corpses every morning, so I turned it into fire sand. Like a self-cleansing oven, the fire takes care of what's in the sand. And then I thought, okay, I'll create octopus plants. So if something is flying in the astral, it grabs it and brings it, and the fire sand will take care of it. So you see, we are that powerful. And just by visualizing and then clapping your hands and saying, and so it is, you have already created a different astral landscape. Yes, boys and girls, it is that easy. But if you don't do it, it doesn't get done. And so you're open. Next thing that is critically important is awareness. So both you, Eric, and Drago so beautifully talked about the harmful effects of parasites, that we're probably infected because we're living on Earth. And so these remedies will do the job. So once you're aware that you are entangled with by something that is not you, that is 90% of the battle won. So if you're getting thoughts that are not yours, and so this is something that people must realize, just because a thought is happening in your head, it doesn't mean it's yours. There's telepathy, there's voice-to-skull technology, there's a sentient AI, there are demonic beings, and all these can speak. And yes, they speak English in your voice, or whatever your mother tongue is. So being aware of your baseline, something that is incredibly helpful. Leave your devices at home, go into nature, take your shoes and socks off, put your feet in the water or on the grass, and wait. Wait for the little jargon to die down, and suddenly you start hearing the birds singing. You hear the sound of the breeze through the leaves of the trees. This was always there. You were just too entangled in the matrix to recognize. And so at that moment, observe yourself, your emotions, your energy. That is your baseline. Anything that is not that is an intrusion. So then you know you are entangled with, then you also have the ability to bring this into focus. I really want to powerfully emphasize this. It doesn't matter what the bug is. If it's a demon, if it's an implant, if it's a technological, energetic hybrid, these all exist. We are the mighty humans. And we are superior to all these because we are created by the beloved source of all things. It doesn't matter what they throw at us. If we exert our free will and the connection to source, we can liberate ourselves. And so it comes to shedding illusion, knowing your baseline, and also shedding programs from your mind that make you think you are small, because that is not true. So many practices may come in. Amongst these, in my humble opinion, the most effective are shamanic techniques. Every single tribe of human, they have shamans. Certain instruments come in, rattles, drums, these are powerful. As long as you have awareness and you have a will to be free and healthy, that is the law. That's one of the fundamental universal laws. Nothing can violate that. So that's my spiel, my 2 cents on what I understand.
Yeah,
that was wonderful.
Yeah, so mixing what you said, Eric, with all these nutritional stuff and mixing those 5D protections, because like doing nutrition stuff and the health stuff, it's a 3D thing. We need 5D shielding. So like Amir said, I have my own protections too, and you have to think about them every single day. The moment you wake up, you got to put your shield on, your shield of God on. Before you go to sleep, you got to put your shield of God on, because the moment you fall asleep, they're going to hit you. You know, they hit you right before you wake up and right before you fall asleep. And if you don't maintain it and just only say it once a day, that doesn't work. you have to think about it all day long. My protections are pretty crazy. I will jack coming into my protections, it's pretty tough. Like Amir's even tried to get through my energy and it caused him to have some issues because my energy is so freaking powerful that when Amir did a deep dive, he's like,
It blew
dude,
my
I gotta
socks
step
off.
away a
Yeah,
little bit.
one went this way, one went that way.
Did you have to do it in person or was it on the phone?
No, it's remote. This kind of stuff, you don't need
Excellent.
physical
Excellent.
proximity.
Yeah, my friends too. My friends do this. I have many I put on my profile that I'm a shaman, comedian, shaman, healer. But I have my friends that do this. When they have a problem, I take care of the problem cases. That's who I am. And I don't know how I do it, but how I think I do it is I believe. You have to believe. I know there's no doubt in my mind. And I'm open to you guys, doing whatever you want, dissecting my, feeling my energy and vindicating or verifying me. Because, when I took a nap with Michael Jaco in an EE system bed at my friend Dr. Sana Rose Michael's house. And he told me, he said, I don't know how you do it. I can't get a read on you. You have this gold silver egg, and I said, that's exactly right. That's what I do is I have a golden silver egg that is protecting me. That's exactly right. And he nailed it. And that's how we have to do it is we have to believe. And that's how, I don't know how I do the medical intuitive stuff either, because my friends that are doctors, they give me their problem cases. I say, what? I look at them like they handed me this paper. They said, this is what they're eating. What's wrong with them? I said, what do I know? I don't, I'm not a doctor. But then when I look at the list, things pop out at me. I see aspartic acid, phenylalanine, and methyl ester, and then it goes off of my head. Wow, that's aspartame. And they're not telling you that they're chewing gum and eating candy. They're not putting it on the list here, but that's what these things are, and that's what's screwing up your body is all the diet shit. That
It's also
it's a
GMO.
methanol toxicity and excitotoxin. Besides being the corn, canola, wheat, and soy are the most genetically modified things, and the high fructose corn syrup is in everything. So you're screwing up your gut and screwing up your. And then what else did you mention? You mentioned grounding. Grounding is so important. We're divine. We're energy beings, and if a baby is crying, all a mother has to do is get naked with the baby in the dirt, and it stops crying immediately. As soon as the baby grounds, it's crying because it has all this electrical charge, and it's making it feel uncomfortable. But once we believe and get grounded and realize that we're all God, that we're all little parts of the big flame, like you say,
Yeah.
No doubt about it. That's where everything comes to. And let's see what else. I should have written down the last thing I wanted to say. Um, Doing a parasite liver cleanse. Entity cleanse, like you said, getting rid of entities and being strong in the light. And we don't realize that we have these parasites that were a host to all kinds of things. And so once you get rid of these hosts and you realize that you're having clear mind. And then also you mentioned not all the thoughts are ours, because when you look up dirt box and stingray, these are things they put on the poles that read your mind. And that's what they're doing. And it's like, what? These are not my thoughts. You have to recognize it immediately and say, that's not my thought. And why, you can't put that in my head. And that's how you're vibrating a finer frequency, because these are lower vibrations that you're not thinking those patterns. And so recognizing these patterns, and also it's just starting with yourself. If you don't love yourself, and if you're not comfortable with yourself, how in the hell can you be comfortable or love anybody else?
This is so
You have
true.
to start. You have
So
to
true.
first be comfortable with yourself and love yourself and forgive yourself and know that you're doing the best you can do, and to ask for guidance, ask for help. whenever I pray or ask for help, I magically get it immediately. It's always right there. I have no
Yeah,
problems, and it's a
it's
magical. And once you
it's
learn, that's the
and Eric,
truth.
that's one of the censored laws of Hermes. And these fundamental laws have been censored from our current knowingness. So one is the law of liberty. If you reach to the light will reach back to you. If you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. So Nietzsche stole that one. That's actually from
Mhm.
Hermes, so from the Hermetica. What
Okay.
you give consciousness to grows. And so if you maintain focus on yourself, self love, balance, well being, and discovering solutions towards your improvement, that must happen. And so often, something that is used very frequently, even amongst the most powerful beings on earth, because these are just vessels. Souls come from all sorts of places. Many of us are powerful, like yourself, Eric. This is not your first rodeo. You've been a healer, a magus for lifetimes upon lifetimes. Same with Drago. This gentleman's been involved in incredible things for a long time. Let's just put it that way, respecting his sovereignty and privacy. Um, what happens is that our own brilliance and ability to manifest is turned against us. And so this happens early on in life. So we're born into families that traumatize us and take away our self-esteem. And if that belief system comes in that I am not worthy, then that's what you're manifesting over and over. So correction of your thought patterns. Let's just put this again under the umbrella category of programs. We are incredibly powerful computers and we can run many programs. Some programs are parasitic, they are malware. I am not worthy, I am not good enough, I am ugly, I am fat, I am this, you see, these are common. Doesn't matter what gender you are, where you are born, what age you are, they affect us negatively. And there are other programs like Christ consciousness, striving to become more like that ascended master, to reach that level of Christos, or as the Buddhist would, a Hindu would say, becoming the Bodhisattva. These are stages of consciousness available to us. So striving for better, identifying these thoughts, and so this has made it into modern day psychotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapies. If anybody has ever had anything with depression, I certainly have. It's looking at those thought processes going on, catching them in the act, looking at it and say, oh, no, 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 this doesn't ring true. This is not true. Once that identification is made, you can wipe that out and replace it with something healthy. So this whole thing of health, well-being, longevity, and sovereignty, these problems we face don't happen overnight. They are millions of years in the making. And so it's a process, really. Awareness, having the ideal that I wish to live as the most worthy vessel of the divine spark. The body is the vessel, so it is a temple, we respect it. Our energy has that fire from the divine flame, it must be respected. Our thoughts, our emotions. So it's really a lifelong process. It's not a switch that you flip. And so sometimes people leave it too late. That is also true. There are cases where you come across the person is really far gone. And so we must listen to the body. If something aches or something doesn't feel right, don't ignore, because it's giving you the message, hey buddy, you need to take care of something. It may be something easy. Don't eat a certain thing. Fizzy drinks are not good for you. Or something might not be working with your system. You're allergic to chili. Don't eat chili every day. So it's really this way of living. We must live well to be well.
Eric, you had mentioned high fructose corn syrup and fluoride earlier. I thought that was a perfect segue and to show you what a bioweapon is, because it was the Nazis in World War II that developed it. It was actually World War I and World War II. They came up with these two things. And their chemical weapons manufacturer was called IG Farben. When Operation
Yes,
Paperclip
that
happened,
was Bear. Then they became Bear.
yeah, I was going to say that. So during Operation
Okay.
Paperclip, we brought that over and it became Bayer, which became our pharmaceutical companies. So basically,
Right.
our main pharmaceutical company, Bayer, is an ex-chemical weapons manufacturer that produced Cyclone B, Agent
Yep.
Orange, and those are the
Yep.
active ingredients in our cancer fighters that they give us. What do they call it? I'm not good with small words.
Chemotherapy.
Chemo?
Chemo, that's the active ingredient in chemo. So they found out that this industrial byproduct, they can't release it into the water. But what we can do is we can release it into the human being. So that sucks. And that's why they're the pharmaceutical industrial complex, because it's the greatest gift that the devil played was convincing us it was for health. Because it's all
You know,
inversion.
I want to, that's excellent that you say that because it, the only ways, they made it illegal. I wanted to cure cancer as a doctor. And then I kept meeting people that already cured cancer. And and then I learned that it was illegal to cure cancer in America. When I met Gerson, Charlotte Gerson, or Josephine Carr, Charlotte, I think, or Josephine, I forget now. But she was the daughter of Max Gerson, who cured cancer in 1928, the Nazi Jewish doctor that they tried to kill, and then but basically he said the cure was just a raw food diet and 15-minute coffee enemas, and it stimulated the gallbladder to produce an enzyme to fight cancer. But she said when I met her in the 80s in the grocery store in Santa Monica, I told her I wanted to cure cancer, and I knew her father, cured it in 1928. And she said, she laughed. She said, it's illegal to cure cancer in America. The only way you can cure cancer in America is with chemotherapy, radiation, or surgery. And there's a fourth way now with Rick Simpson oil, the RSO marijuana oil. That's the fourth legal way now in America. But this was before that in the 80s. And then she goes, I have an office in San Diego, but I have to take my patients across the border on a trolley to Mexico to do the process because it's illegal to cure cancer in America. And so it was just so funny you say that, and it's good to know that that you can do it. What's the other thing I was saying? You were talking about IG Farben and Bayer and one thing I should have written it down. I thought I was going to remember it and I didn't write it down. I forgot. But excellent points you're making, Drago, and excellent. We have to point our fingers at these people that are trying to poison us, and that's what I wanted to say is the this cancer that is really parasites. It's the biggest money making industry, and they want to kill you, and they put doctors that cured cancer in jail. I met this brother of a doctor who cured his patients with just the apricot pits, and he was in jail in New York, and I met him on a cruise when I went to Caribbean in New York, and so it's terrible, to have these money making industry. But now with the rise of med beds, we're all about to get med bed treatments and get healthy, get back to that's what I think.
Eric,
Yeah,
what's this story of medbeds? So is it ancient human technology, or is it supposed to be gifted to us by friendly, benevolent non-humans? Because I keep hearing about this. It sounds amazing. And then
they've been
my
using it for a long time. We found med beds in old bunkers that they in the tunnels that they were used that they kept from us. They used it for the military to do the help the soldiers. They keep reusing the soldiers to go. The first person I learned about it is my friend. He used to be Captain Randy Kramer. Now he's Colonel
right,
Randy Kramer.
right,
But
right.
Captain K told me in the when I first started speaking, over a decade ago, he said, about how he fought these insectoids and how it only took 4 hours to regrow a new arm, and that they were using this technology. But it's basically Star Trek technology that we've had forever. That we were much more advanced in the past with
Yeah,
Tartaria
right.
and everything for millions of years.
Right,
until,
right.
so
So
we're
it's human.
rediscovering all these.
It's human essentially. Then we've had it, and it's now just compartmentalized.
I don't know how old humans are. There's no such thing as a human. I think we're a combination of 24 different aliens. Like you said,
Oh yeah,
pig
lots
is one
going
of
on.
them.
Yeah,
Pig, and we have all these different, pig is an alien type, and that's why you could use a pig heart. That's why they're trafficking our organs in space and keeping it compartmentalized, because they don't want other soldiers to know what they were harvesting and trafficking women and children in Oregon, because they can use our organs for 24 different aliens. So we're like the royalty
yeah,
and we were genetically manipulated by these Anunnaki, because,
right.
they didn't make our soul. They made our physical bodies. Because what happened doesn't occur naturally. They fused in our second and third chromosome RH Rhesus monkey genes. And that doesn't occur naturally. You don't fuse
Right.
genes together like that. And that's how we know in the second and third chromosome it was fused into us. Because how can monkeys have 48 chromosomes and we only have 46? But we do have those extra two chromosomes fused into our second and third chromosomes. So even though we don't occur naturally, and we were genetically manipulated by these Anunnaki, we were gifted there, this Christ, this God source spark in us, because it spells in the DNA, it spells Yahweh, and God is in our DNA. And so, once we realize all these things, we realize what the deep state's so scared of, that we're waking up to these higher, because we're really supernova souls, that,
I love
we're
that.
we're atomic, who says that? Adrienne Elise from the astrology on YouTube. She calls us supernova souls. I love her astrology.
Yeah,
But we're powerful beings, and once we wake up to these things, that we transmute everything, and that's where we're coming
beautiful.
to. Is
I'm
we're
just
coming to
getting
this. Nothing
goosebumps
can
all
stop it.
over. That's so
Yeah,
beautiful. That's so
there'll be a
beautiful.
solar flash. Yeah.
That at the end of the day, we've spoken a lot about what has done to oppose us. But now let's look at the other side of the picture, the magnificent human, and we are still here, breathing, drinking, eating, and being irradiated by poison, and we are still here. Not just that, we are thriving in these smog, suffocating smog-covered cities, going around where no other species would live. We're just going around la di da di da like it's the best day ever, and we are popping. We are awakening. It's impossible to stand and block the flood that is the mighty human. At the end, we're going to be victorious. Everything that could be done to us has been done to us. And here we are. And that should give us hope. Now, despite so many things that are damaging, intentionally or out of ignorance, when you look at the new kids coming in, these wonderful new humans coming in, these little naughty googie goos are tapped in. So if you look at the youngsters, they're different. They are immune to things that would have devastated our grandparents, our parents, and maybe even us. They just don't go with it. It's impossible. And so this is that next stage of us moving forward. So much has been done. We also kind of briefly talked about the importance of the earth and grounding. But earth is a soul, a very, very evolved consciousness, Gaia, who has a say in our well-being. And earth is healing. With earth healing, humans heal. As we heal her even better. So it's an upward movement. We're past the worst and darkest periods in our history. I think we're coming into a new golden age. Hopefully things that are available to us, like clean and cheap energy, clean, cheap and healthy food and water, and clean and cheap medical practices that will improve our quality of life is going to become more readily available to all of us. This system, this goddamn awful satanic system, this is crumbling. And so if we don't give it energy, it is diminished by the amount of our energy. The more people that refuse to volunteer energy to this system of corruption, and this is not a violent move, it is non-aggressive, that we are not the part, not being part of the problem anymore. That's all it takes.
And I feel you have to make a choice to walk away flat out. You can't just dip your feet in the water and just gradually do it. You have to make a choice. Like when I became vegetarian 11 years ago, I made a choice to not take part in harming an animals anymore. Like I'm not the kind of guy where I teach that or preach that to people. I don't care what people eat. Like I can date someone and they eat meat and they can cook meat in my house. That doesn't bother me. That's their own kind of evolution. Now I just lost my train of thought. What was I just talking about?
You can't just dip your feet in. You got to make
Yeah,
a
so
choice.
you have to do it, man. Like when I was telling you, Eric, about 13 years ago, where when I stopped drinking soda, like it got to a point where I stopped trusting everything. I started eating organic pretty much only. I don't eat out at restaurants. Like when I do conferences, everybody wants to go hang out and eat food, and like I've got to force myself to. So anybody that I've ate food with in public, I had to force to eat those poisons. So I did it for you, not for me. So just understand that. But when you make that commitment, I made equipment made an equi I made a commitment to stop eating fast food 11 years ago. I don't eat fast food under any circumstance. I only eat
It's not
once a
good.
day. I eat so late at night and it's of course it's not good, but you know what? I I I run five full-time careers and I work 120 hours a week. That doesn't give you time to eat during the day because you're going to feel heavy. It processes. You're like, this is slowing me down. So what I've decided, I stepped forward into that. I eat almost all organic. I don't drink sodas. I stay as health conscious as I can. And this is kind of segueing back into the parasites, Eric. I started following all these Instagram pages that are using microscopes, and they're grabbing these average foods that you can buy in a package. They're putting it under the microscope, and it is riddled with parasites. Doritos chips, ramen noodles. It does not matter. I was I was I was programmed as a child to think that anything inside of a sealed bag has no parasites in it. It's not been contaminated yet. But I came to the point where I realized the contamination is in the processing. It's full of parasites. They're not killing these parasites. They know the parasites are there. When I was seeing all these mites and these flukes of all these kinds and all like tortilla chips in general, man, there's not a single tortilla chip that's ever been tested that did not have parasites on it. So it got me thinking about mayonnaise, stuff in jars. They started
Right.
looking into the actual raw ones before they're cooked.
Yeah.
It is full of freaking worms.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like when I get my organic produce, man, I like fire hose the crap out of that, trying to knock off as many parasites as I can because you're right. Natural food before it's cooked is the most healthy because when you start processing it, you start homogenizing it, you start boiling it, you're killing all the life-giving nutrients in it, period. But like Jesus Christ, just the parasite part of it, it freaks me out because like I don't care if I have little dendrix mites eating my little eyelashes and it's on the part of my skin. I care about worms growing around in my stomach, in my bloodstream. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So I guess you just have to get to the point when you walk away, when you make these health choices, you have to just commit to it. When you
Yeah.
commit to walking away from abuse, you can't walk away from one abuse case and find yourself with the same characteristics of another abuse case. Like the universe is showing you that I'm going to keep sending you abusive people until you stop accepting it. So the point of this analogy is stop trusting the fast food. Stop trusting that it's healthy. It is not. It is so damaging. It is most fast food, period, is completely toxic. It's created with seed oils. It's most food back in my day. I was a cook through a good part of my life, cooking in restaurants. We used to make food. We used to put the ingredients together and make it fresh. They don't even do that no more in modern restaurants. They get everything pre-cooked from factories And a lot of these places like TGI Fridays, what's Applebee's? Applebee's heats up most of their food in a microwave, even the steaks. It comes pre-grilled with the grill marks from the factory, and they are using toxic microwaves to heat up your food. And that's why Russia banned it in the 80s. Why numerous countries around the world banned microwaves because you're putting out microwaves in the food. And this is why the microwave itself is a Faraday cage. If you produce microwave radiation and then you open that damn front cover, you get blasted with radiation into your body. Radiation does not dissipate. There's no radiation vents that go through your microwave up through your walls into the atmosphere. It doesn't exist. So I think the most important part I need to tell people is the microwave part. I have not microwaved in over 15 years. I don't care if I'm starving. If I know my food is microwaved, I will not accept it. So again, live the life. Stop being lazy. Stop being complacent. Stop, okay, I'm going to be healthy, but you know what? I'm going to get some little fast food here. It's not going to hurt me. Yes, it will. Because it creates a pattern of you doing that on a regular basis, and you're not committing fully to yourself. So just commit to yourself. Love yourself
Yeah.
and commit to yourself. You're more important than everybody, because if you're not alive to take care of your children, that's not love.
That's
Your health should be the priority to live forever for your family. And if it's not worth it to you, then shame on you.
beautifully said.
You know,
Self-love and
micro.
commitment.
You know, I wanted to add to the microwaves is the microwave. It changes the molecular structure of the food
It
to make
obliterates
it
it.
non, and it makes it so your organ can eat you when you're eating this microwave food, your organs might not recognize it as a food, and you can die. And you know that's why they didn't use microwaves in Russia. And you know it does change the molecular structure of the food.
Yeah.
I was so pissed off when I learned that this Persian restaurant I was going to, it was the son of the family, and
That's
they weren't even cooking the food like you said, and they were microwaving it. I got so pissed. I said
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
like we were
stopped
lied
going.
to, man. We were all lied to. We think
Yeah.
it's coming out fresh, and like,
Mhm.
how can you call yourself a cook in a restaurant if you don't actually cook food? You are
Cook.
a
Yeah.
Right.
reheater by nature. You are a
Right.
microwave technician expert. Stop saying you're a cook. Stop saying you're a damn chef. You are a professional at
Exactly.
reheating food in a freaking microwave.
Button
And
pusher.
the other other point
Exactly.
I wanted to add, the other point I wanted to add to is this fast food. You know, it they're finding human meat in hot dogs and hamburgers. You know, there's not enough cows in the world to make all the hamburgers that we're
Yeah.
making. So what else is this pink sludge? You know, and then you learn the McDonald's family is really satanic, and they're putting dead bodies. And in Japan, they're finding teeth in the meat and hair and you know, it's last time I had McDonald's was in the 80s, and I actually had like an Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby. I was golfing, and the third hole I threw up, and it went like in a rainbow arc, and it was like it was alive. It was like a snake coming out of my body, and it was really satanic. And so they're closing all these McDonald's around the world, and they're being busted for finding human meat, just like they put the dead people in bricks in Italy. You know, when they killed you, they would give you a you killed your family, they'd give you a brick back, like your family was in the brick. You know, it's the same with the burgers here in America. They're finding it's called HEK 293, human embryonic kidney 293. HEK 293 is in a lot of foods, and they're not telling us, what this is, and where it's really satanic, uh, and I heard that the reptilians do it so they can shapeshift. They need human meat to be able to shapeshift to hold their form, is what I heard. But great points. Thank you for letting me elaborate. My bird's going crazy. I gotta shut him up. Um, it's
What what
great.
what's your
Great
bird
flow.
called?
Choo choo.
Oh
He's
my
a
goodness.
cockatiel. Yeah.
Okay.
Choo choo.
Oh my God, look at that little gorgeous thing. Hello, sweetie pie. Hello, I love you.
He whistled. He whistled to you. I put him in the bathroom so he wouldn't make noise. I put him outside my bathroom. He loves. He's got about 20 mirrors. He loves looking at himself all day. And
No,
my
he's
dogs are taking a nap. I got
yes.
Rocky right here,
Hello, Rocky. Hello, sweetie.
and here's Dharma. Dharma,
Hello,
the little
Dharma. Oh, look at you. We woke these guys up, huh? Oh,
yeah, they were taking a nap, listening to me doing the show with you guys. It's been really a nice flow. We've and I don't
I
know
think we.
how you're gonna don't put it on YouTube because you'll get strikes. You'll get strikes on YouTube if you ever
Ah,
put me on YouTube. So you
so
can't put it
we'll.
on YouTube.
We'll
Well,
have to.
unfortunately, the only channel we have, Eric, is YouTube. So if they strike us,
Rumble
then it is what
Studio,
it is. Rumble's dead, dude.
Rumble
We
Studio.
no one's going on Rumbles anymore, man. The problem is I've had Rumble for years. A lot of my friends has had Rumble, and no one knows about Rumble. So I only went
Oh,
on Rumble
I
because I
know,
was deplatformed back in 2018, and
I
Laura
know.
Eisenhower kind of got me out of that ban, and we started doing that podcast together. And then we started realizing we were posting on YouTube. They started taking it down. We had to, it's 100%. We had to go Rumble, but the problem is most people are too lazy. They will not go to Rumble. I've experienced this myself. Everyone I talk to that and I told them to go to Rumble, they just simply
Yeah.
don't want to. It's a form of strong cognitive dissonance because it's not convenient. But
Yeah, they don't
we
tape me. When I do the shows with Saeed, I do Alien Event and Biomed Expo. They don't tape my shows, and they ask me to watch it when I do the panels and stuff. But they always get Alan Betty on gets mad at me because that we get strikes talking about some of the things we talked about. But I hope it's okay. I hope it flows through. Hopefully, everybody's waking up more and they're doing it less. I notice I'm getting banned less and less strikes.
Okay.
So
Fingers
hopefully,
crossed. But
yeah,
I
hopefully.
mean, what we spoke about today, we've tried to be respectful. We've tried to be fair. And of course, the objective is to give people something to think about. Polite
Mhm.
suggestions. Everyone is responsible for their own well-being. They should do their research, do their due diligence, and
Yes.
so I hope that with the best intentions that we've had, this would be beneficial for people.
Yes, and don't believe anything that I said. Just research. I just hope I inspired you to look into everything that I talked about. That way, hopefully, it's my disclaimer will be okay. And because I
Yes,
notice on
yes,
on TikTok, a lot of people that's how they start is that's just for entertainment purposes only.
right,
so
right, right, right,
but I
right.
love you guys. I'm glad we
Lo-
had this talk,
Love you
Drago, and
too,
and
man.
Amir. Thank you for reaching out, Amir. And
It's such a pleasure. I'm very honored and very grateful. I know you're a busy gentleman. Your time
not
is
really.
so well.
Yeah.
We are grateful nonetheless. Thank you
Yeah, thank
so
you.
very much, Eric, and I wish you the absolute very best. And look forward to speaking with you again.
Oh, me too. I'm open. Anytime I'm free for you. I'm retired and it's wonderful. All I do is have fun with my dogs in the park and eat. I'm a foodie, so I love to eat and cook and
Proper
but it's
Persian
wonderful
kebabs, I
talking with
hope.
both of
Yes,
you.
on charcoal. Yeah, rice with
Yeah,
saffron. All the good stuff.
I
I
do.
will
I have the best saffron.
I would like to say, Eric, that a lot of the recommendations you made, they're backed up by all these new medical journals and all the alternative researchers, Dr. Sebi, Barbara O'Neill. I consider them two the most important researchers that ever existed because
I
they're
met them. I met them and I love them. I met them both.
wow, that's an honor, man.
I met everybody. I met everybody. I met everybody. What am I saying? I had a lot of fun in my life, and I lived in Santa Monica, and we're doing conferences for 13 years, and I really met everybody and worked with a lot of people, and so and I'm always open to change, and be whatever, and I know I'm not perfect and say some stupid things, but it's all good, and
You're
I,
one
I
cool dude, man.
I can
Whatever you
I can
say,
fall asleep.
And
Okay, so
I hope everyone does take the advice today, especially like the
yes.
B17, maybe get into some those seeds that Eric mentioned earlier. I won't mention them again just in case we get flagged, because that is something they flag on. Just mentioning a
Oh
specific
yeah.
seed will get your video removed. So look into
Yeah.
that, look into the research, look into the misinformation about the chemical they claim that's toxic, and it's very negligible. They want you to focus on that, but it actually will cure you. So this was a really good
Yes.
talk, Eric. I
Yes.
appreciate
Yes.
the
Yes.
nutrition because that's what most people they don't have in their life. They have the love and light, they have the psychics, but they don't have the self-care. And without that self-care, we're gonna wither away, man. So I thank you for the
Yeah.
lifetime of work. You were a healer in numerous lives. That's obvious to me psychically. Amir sees that. This is what your mission is, to heal people, to heal others, because it lifts your soul up to see someone going from death to life, someone who was sick that is now healthy. Like
Yeah.
when we help save a soul, some people that come to me, if I don't help them, they're going to commit suicide in the car and they brought the gun before my QHHT session. I've heard that a few times.
Wow.
So to be the person to help them get the answers and to help them get out of whatever they're stuck in health wise, it causes a lot of psychological problems. You have a lot of thoughts because it's deficiencies from vitamins. So I think this is a very important show, and just
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody listen to this nutrition advice because there's a lot of gold here. So
I believe
I
so.
wanted to talk about my supplements and nutritions. If I could do it quickly, that'd be wonderful. Is
Please.
because the most basic ones that I make sure I take every day is besides the B complex, which helps with stress, is I have to take vitamin D3 with K2 every day, and I also have to take zinc every day. And you don't want to miss those things. Those are the important things. Okay, you need to take um, these things because all the aluminum spraying is killing our vitamin D3, and we need D3, not D2, and we need to mix it with K2, and so you can buy them together. And then the zinc, you don't want to take more than 50 a day, 50 milligrams. You want to buy a 41 just in case you're getting it elsewhere in other places. And then the other ones I take are coenzyme Q10, ubiquinol, it's called for the heart. And it's actually in the heart of organ. If you're eating beef organ parts, freeze dried beef organ, that's the best. You can save money on all these supplements and just eat freeze dried beef organs. And if women are over 40, they should take Primal Queen because it balances their hormones, it gets rid of their fat, and it gets them back to health. And you know what? After doing these parasite detox, that's why we're fat. Is just, it's all worms and the shit of worms. Once you detox all this stuff, you poo it out, and you're back to good again. You know, you're in tip top shape. The other supplements I really take that are important is this new one called Fatty 15. Fatty15.com is an excellent. It the Navy did these experiments where they were trying to find out why the dolphins were dying early and not happy. They were sad and depressed, and so they saw that they were deficient in C15. So they made this fatty15.com, and it's the latest fatty acid they've discovered in 90 years. They're going to win a Nobel Prize for this product. It really it reverses aging, and it helps all your cells regenerate. So fatty15.com, it's about a $50 a month. You know, it's a little over $1 a pill, but and they're little pills, but it's really awesome product. I can't stop talking about. The other product that's really helping me because as you get older, you notice the way you pee is different, and you know how much blood flows in your organs. You know, you notice a difference. Taking Blood Flow 7 is amazing combination of helping your heart and all your organs get back into health again. It's made by Juvenon, JUVENON.com. I take this Blood Flow 7 and I really notice a difference. I'm back to having no problems. Not that I ever really had a problem, but I just noticed a difference. It really helps. Um, being peeing and having blood flow everywhere, and you notice it when you wake up in the morning. Anyway, so that the other one is fatty or no, nattokinase, natto kinase, kinaise. That is a great product to eat away the arterial plaque, and it really it really cleans out your arteries. So I had a roommate that had problems. He ate butter by the cube, and just those two products, blood flow 7 and nattokinase, his doctor's eyes popped out of his head. And he told me, he asked him, what he lied to his doctor and said he was doing a keto diet or something, but those are the products that really help. I only hear good things about those two things, nattokinase and then also the nattokinase is measured in FUs. I don't know what FU, it's not what that stands for, but most of the nattokinase is less than 10,000 FU. And so you want to make sure you get a high 10,000 FU. So I buy the good one that has that's guaranteed potency, because not all herbs are the same. That's why you always want to go for standardized herbs that are guaranteed potency, because you don't know how much you're getting when you're taking a regular herb. You always want to buy the concentrated forms. And also, as healers, we're healing ourselves and we're helping people heal themselves, because I don't practice medicine and I'm just sharing cures, and I don't want to get in trouble. So we always give these disclaimers that, I'm Eric the healer because I heal myself. I don't heal anybody. You heal yourself and I help you heal yourself. And so we have to keep reminding people with these so we don't get in trouble with any regulatory agencies that think they're regulating anything, when they're really criminal themselves. So the other one I take is magnesium citrate. I think it's let me make sure. Or no, glycinate, I think. No, glycinate. Yeah, magnesium glycinate. That's really good. I take that too. So that is the last one I want to say I take. Um, if I take any oregano oil pills with black seed oil or whatever, I do that at night, because parasites are active at night when you're sleeping. That's why when you do the parasite stuff at night before you go to sleep. And I give it to the dogs. When I notice my Chihuahua's dragging her butt, I give them some pills, and it helps them, detox, because, like you say, parasites are everywhere, and so. And there's many videos that they're pouring Coca-Cola on pork, and you see all these worms crawling, and
I've done that test before.
terrible.
I did that.
Yeah,
test.
Yeah.
It's
in
real.
Japan, they're finding. Oh, good.
That's
you
probably
see it.
around the last time I ate meat. That was like the defining moment in my life, where you see worms violently try to get out, and they're really freaking long, dude. And it's just like,
no, I know.
I'm good.
It's crazy.
I'm good.
Women in Japan, they eat so much fish all day and they're so healthy. And it's because every night they have these two jars, and they take one jar, a couple drops, and then they take the other jar, a couple drops. And it's these herbs that we talked about that kill. So they're detoxing every night, and that's why they live longer. And they're, even though they're eating fresh fish all the time, because you really shouldn't have fish more than a couple times a week because of the parasites, but they're on top of it right away, and they're killing them every night. So they figured out the secret, and so there's a healthy way to do everything. There's always a nicer way to do and say everything. But I'm so proud of you to be, not eat meat and be healthy and see these things and inspire others to, because that's the way. It's hard for me to stop eating meat, because I'm such a foodie, and I love so many different things, but I definitely detox and after that.
Cool giving it up, because like, I'm a carnivore. I think about meat all the time. It's just like, I just think cute, cuddly creature I want to pet versus eat. So I'm like,
right.
I'm like a tiger walking through the wild that's like petting with my teeth showing. I'm like, I'm just gonna pet you, you delicious looking creature, but I love you too much. I love you. I love you. I love you too much.
Yeah.
Damn, you smell so good.
Yes, yes, you smell delicious and I love you.
I
Okay,
love you
gentlemen,
medium rare.
let's wrap everything up.
Okay. Thank you.
Any final words, Eric, and also Drago? Would you like to add anything, or I think we've covered pretty much a good, vast range of subjects.
The last thing is hydrogenated water. I bought a hydro pitcher. It's called hydrobottle.com. And I bought the pitcher and I give hydrogenated water to my pets and my cat and my bird and I drink it. And it really helps reduce the cortisol levels and hydrogenates your body. And that's the secret is when you put that extra hydrogen, it carries out detoxes you. So that's the last thing I want to say. Um, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you, Eric.
Drago, would you like to add anything?
Man, be the change you want to see in the world, no matter what it is. Stop being lazy and just be the person you want to become. See it in your mind, create it in your mind, and live it. Stop being lazy because if 10 years from now you're the same person, you're the one to blame, no one else.
Well said. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we freaking love you. Thank you. If you stayed all this time with us, we appreciate your time. Please take what we lovingly presented to you with due diligence. Do your research. Don't take shortcuts. Find out the facts. Consult your doctor. Make sure that your body is suitable for anything because we are not all the same. And we wish you the very, very best. Much love, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. All the best. Okay. Well, wow, that was so good. Thank you,
Good.